If you're currently feeling stuck or lost, or you simply lack clarity and direction for your future, you are not alone. In today's video, I'm going to help you, number one, create clarity and forward momentum, but most importantly, help you get unstuck. Because if you're living in this space, it simply means you're living life by default in autopilot, and it's time to get out of your own way. The first step to creating change in your life is always awareness. And this week, I received an assessment from somebody who literally said, I have no idea where I'm going from here. And I've been there. I know what that feels like. It's like you're drifting through life. But what that really tells me is that you're stuck living in survival. And I also know this individual is stuck living in survival based on his other answers. If this is new to you, I have a totally free resource on my website called the Life Assessment. You can take it by visiting heatherhakes.com. So his other answers indicated he's not great mental health, his relationships are in the shitter, he's not productive, and again, he lacks clarity. So if you can relate, I want to help you get unstuck and create that forward momentum. So here's what it really comes down to. I want you to understand the mechanics about you on how your identity shapes your reality. And until you change the root cause, which is your identity, nothing in your life changes. Most people, most humanity are out there hustling and grinding and only working on the surface level symptoms, band-aiding the problems by stress and grinding rather than just getting to the root cause, which is identity. And that's the work that I do. So let's start there. You have to understand these principles, that your beliefs create your perception and your self-image, and all of this creates your identity. So if, like this individual who filled out this application, he is stuck, but let's talk about kind of his identity, where he's at. He lacks clarity. His finances aren't great. His relationship isn't great. Everything's not where he wants it to be. And this is when you know you're living life in autopilot. So let's just call it what it is. This equals autopilot, living your life by default. Another word we can use here is being unconscious. And what's really important to know is that your current results, your current circumstances in life is old news. It's simply a reflection of your past state of being, your old beliefs, perceptions, and identity. So what happens for most people and why we get stuck in these ruts, literal ruts, they're neural networks in your brain, is because you keep thinking and feeling the same. And if you don't change, nothing in your life will change. So this individual, he's probably stressed. Again, he lacks clarity, lacks focus, so he's unmotivated. And all of this is because it's an internal problem. He doesn't feel good about himself. So until you change the root cause, you can't create a better future. So how do you break free of living in survival, living in autopilot, and create a better future? So let's talk about that. Here's one way of living, and this is where this guy is currently at. I have no idea where I'm going from here. And I've been in that space. Like you feel heavy, maybe you feel numb, you feel apathetic. But this is why you have to learn to master your mental emotional states. Because if you can't master your mental emotional states, you can't master your habits and you can't change your life. So what it really comes down to is the idea of an identity shift. Identity shift is everything because your identity is creating your reality. So here's what I want to help you do. Again, the first step to change is awareness. You have to become aware of your state of being, your identity. So this is what you could do right now. You have to become aware of, most importantly, your thoughts. Then it's your emotions, stress, overwhelm, and your habits. Procrastinating, inconsistent, etc. These three things are creating every result in your life. So what I like to do is look at this and we can reverse engineer. Look at your current results. Pick one area of life so that you aren't overwhelmed. And this individual, he lacks clarity, but I can see his life assessment and nothing's really going that well. But if money's the biggest stressor, let's go there. We can look at your current results, or whether it's your health, wanting to lose weight, or your relationships, whatever it is, pick one area of life. And now let's reverse engineer. Look at your habits. Are you inconsistent? Are you procrastinating? And then from there, what are your emotional states? Are you living in stress, fear, overwhelm, doubt, worry? And what are your thoughts? Because that's the first domino in reality creation. And what happens is most people are trying to only change their habits, their actions, right? Productivity hacks. You just need more productivity hacks. No, because you're not getting to the root cause. You're not getting to the two things that are actually driving your behaviors. That's why motivation never lasts. You have to learn how to become disciplined. And discipline, I think, has a negative connotation. Discipline is not negative. The 1%ers, successful people, are extremely disciplined with their mental and emotional states, because when they can master and discipline the internal, then they have ideal habits, they're consistent, they're taking action, and then guess what? They have wanted results. That's the big difference here. So this is the starting point, and I want you to do this. I'm going to walk you through how I did this back in 2017 in order to get out of my own way, because I was not in a good space. I was full of self-doubt, procrastinating, inconsistent, had imposter syndrome. I was stuck in my own way. So let's just go there. I'll walk you through how to create version 2.0. And this is really what I coach my clients through. So here's what I want to offer you. If you want to fast track where you are to the life you could be living and get unstuck and out of your own way, I provide one-on-one coaching. I will include a link below, and you can also apply on my website, heatherhakes.com. It's exactly what I coach my clients through in an 8-week process. So let's use me as the guinea pig, because this is real life, because I know what it's like to be stuck, and I know what it's like on the other side, to go from living by default to living your life by design. So here's who I was back in 2017 when I was stuck, going through the motions. But I did have clarity. I wanted income and I wanted impact, but I was full of being in my own way. So I was full of self-doubt, imposter syndrome. So, I'm stuck comparing myself to other people. I was procrastinating. I was inconsistent. And hopefully you can see that this identity, this version of me, so we'll just call this version 1.0. Heather 1.0, this is who I was. This version of me, this identity, because these are my beliefs, creating my habits, creating unwanted results, and that's why you can reverse engineer it. This version of me was never going to create the impact and the income in order to serve and help other people feeling stuck, because I was in the weeds. And this is exactly what I did. I wrote pen to paper who I was being, my thoughts, my actions, but then most importantly, I created clarity. So now let's do that together. In order to create forward momentum, in order to create a new future, you just have to get clear on what is. Remember, this is a reflection, it's old news. And now we have to get really clear, okay, despite where you're currently at in your life, in your relationships, in your health, in your finances or business, what do you want? So I got really clear. I wanted impact and income. So this is what I wanted. Now, who would I have to be to get this result? I would have to be confident. I would have to know that I know my stuff, that I can help others. I would have to have conviction in my strategy, in my processes, in my knowledge. And I had that. I had helped other people, but still I was full of self-doubt. Back then, I also was not disciplined mentally and emotionally, which is what is required to get wanted results. I would have to be consistent, and I would have to be taking action, right? I'd have to be creating content. Because if I wasn't creating content, I'm not putting my expertise out there, I wouldn't be able to reach who I'm trying to help. So I wouldn't be able to create impact and income because I didn't have these in play. So hopefully you can see there's a big difference in these two identities. So this is who I was, and this is who 2.0 would have to be. Also disciplined, and the ability to master mental emotional states. Because if you can master your mental emotional states, you master your habits, you master your life, you get wanted results. So this is a big gap, right? And even where you're at, there is a gap. There is a gap from where you are to who you want to be, to the life that you want to have. So now that we've created awareness and you've created a clear aim, what it really comes down to is the daily disciplines, the application, the embodiment of this new identity. And I want to keep this simple because what has taken me years and thousands of hours to really understand not only how I work, but how the universe works, I boiled it down to a simple method, which I want to walk you through now. But now that we have awareness and a clear aim, now it's about the application, the daily disciplines. And if you could put the following method into play, you literally can create any reality you choose. But remember, the most important piece right now is you have to become clear on those thoughts, emotions, and habits that aren't serving you. And then you have to get really clear, what does that version 2.0 of you look like? What is that next version of you? What is their identity? What thoughts are you thinking? You have to be confident. You have to be conviction. Have to have conviction. You have to be consistent. Those are no-brainers. Those are across the board for anybody. And you have to master and discipline your mental emotional state. So now let me walk you through this framework that I personally use in order to create desired results, because I don't want this to be complicated. There's a lot of strategies and distractions and shiny objects chasing out there. And I've boiled this down to 5 steps. And if you can put these 5 steps into play, this is how you close the gap on where you are to that next version of you so that you can have the health, wealth, happiness, and success that you seek. So let's get into it. This is what I call the 5R method. And this is really a distillation of quantum physics, neuroscience, like really understanding the mechanics of you, your thoughts, emotions, creating that identity, but also what's required in order to match the frequency of that life that you want, because that's what it really comes down to. Until you understand the energetics of you and this universe, you will hustle and grind and burn yourself out. When you truly understand it's an energetic game, it's a frequency game, life becomes a whole lot more fun. All right, so the first R, let's get to it. The first step here is you have to regulate. And this is all about your nervous system. So for example, that individual the assessment I got this week, I have no idea where I'm going from here. I know that somebody in that mental state who is stuck in survival, who is stuck in stress, has a dysregulated nervous system. So here are some telltale signs that you also are dysregulated. And if you're dysregulated, think about it like this. You have internal chaos, you have static. So you can continue hustling and grinding and burning out, but you're only going to dig a deeper hole. So until you regulate, that's why this is literally the first step. Until you regulate and get yourself out of survival mode, you cannot create a new future. So this is step 1. You have to regulate your nervous system. Now there's tons of ways you can do this, but the easiest ones, obviously meditation, breath work. That's why yoga is great. It can quiet the mind. Cold plunge, journaling, just literally sitting still in nature. Whatever you can to create presence. So that's really the key here when it comes to regulate. You need presence. You can do this just in a couple of minutes. So first thing in the morning, I highly recommend. So what I'm walking you through, the 5R method, this is what you would do every single morning to rewire your identity to create your wanted results. So the first thing you do is just sit for a few minutes to meditate, to create that internal calm and presence. Now you have all of your energy, rather than it being chaotic and incoherent, you have coherence within. So what's step number 2? Now that you're regulated, now it's time to rewire. And this is why you need that clear aim. And rewiring is new thoughts and beliefs. So new thoughts and beliefs. And also the emotional states. And so all this is getting really clear, and remember, go all in on one thing so that you're not overwhelmed. Because when you go all in on whether it's finances, relationships, business, whatever, when you go all in on one thing, because we're upgrading identity, everything in your life improves with it because we're going to the root cause, you. So when you're thinking and feeling, now this is getting your conscious and subconscious, your mind and body in tandem, in alignment. When you're thinking and feeling in alignment, now we're rewiring that new state of being based on thoughts and emotions. So what we're really doing here is getting so crystal clear on what that new future is that you want. Remember, we're not looking at the past anymore. It's old news. It's like staring in the rearview mirror. Let that go. Become so clear on what you want and thinking and feeling. Now, this is not fake it till you make it, because your subconscious mind will reject that. But what this is thinking and feeling, embodying that state of being until you experience it. And that's the key here, embodiment. Embodiment is everything, but we're gonna get to that. So we're rewiring. Once we've regulated in those couple minutes sitting in meditation, now sitting in that regulated space, you can rewire thinking and feeling based on that new version of you. The third step is about mental rehearsal. So now we're going to rehearse. Now this is not visualization, because visualization's only mental. Now I want to go a step above just visualizing. This is mental rehearsal, because when you're mentally rehearsing and you're combining thoughts and emotions, that is how you upgrade your frequency and identity. So this third step is literally sitting in that space. You can imagine a scene, but this has to be sensory detail. A very vivid, imaginative experience. Your mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality. So if you're mentally rehearsing that new partnership, if you're mentally rehearsing 6 figures in your bank account, if you're mentally rehearsing whatever that end result is, you're thinking and feeling and creating that vivid imaginary experience, you are now wiring that identity and version of you. Now here's where most people trip up. They might get through these 3 steps. So you might have a great morning, a great start to your day, but then we trip and fall back into default, into autopilot, into that old state of being. It's like having an organic breakfast and then spending the rest of your day eating junk fast food. So what it really comes down to, which I already hinted on, is the embodiment, which is our next piece. Now it's about radiating. And what I really mean by that is to sustain the new state of being, sustain the new identity. And look, you're human. At first, you're going to default, but the point is, whenever you find yourself back in those old thoughts, emotions, or habits, to reel it back in, to get back on track. So give yourself some grace. You're building your mindset muscle, but this is what it comes down to. You have to sustain this elevated identity, this elevated state of being throughout your day. And by sustaining it, you are now hardwiring into your brain and body, and who you are creates your results. And so now you're hardwiring this new identity. Finally, the best part, step number 5, is once you put this all into play, and you can sustain this elevated emotion. When it comes to manifesting, to getting these new outcomes, the how and the when are never your job. If you can just focus on these first 4 steps, to regulate your nervous system so you have presence and calm, to rewire those thoughts and emotional states, to rehearse the new outcome, and then to sustain and radiate that through the day. You will receive the new results in your life. You will receive new financial opportunities, or maybe meeting your significant other. Whatever the desired results is, the receiving of it is not your job. If you can simply put these into play and this becomes your new state of being, life is a mirror. I'm going to bring in a hermetic principle here, correspondence. As within, so without. That your life is always and only reflecting your internal state of being, these 4 steps. So when you can discipline your mental, emotional states, and you can hardwire this new identity, and you sustain and maintain this throughout your day, it is inevitable that you will receive wanted results. So here's where I want to summarize this for you. Knowledge alone is not power. It is easy to get tripped up into the constantly consuming and never implementing and applying. Just learning about this today will not change your life, but if you apply it and you put these into play, I promise you, your life will change. And this is how you create clarity and forward momentum to get unstuck and out of your own way. Thanks for tuning into today's video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so you're the first to know when new videos drop, and give me a thumbs up. I'll catch you on the next one.